Welcome to Follow the Action. If you have been watching this show or listening to this podcast, you have made a ton of money because our guys have absolutely destroyed the sports betting market. There's a reason that this show, Follow the Action, has been downloaded in over 2,000 cities, over 60 countries, and all 50 of the United States. We do not have guys who play experts on television. We have the pillars of the sports betting industry who have moved big money and moved lines for decades. We got the legends themselves. When they talk about sharp money, that's our guys they're talking about. I'm John Layfield, proud to be part of the crew. With us, Mr. Joey Bagels, Mr. Harry Mays, they call him the Philly Rooster, the 8-ball, the college kids represented by Matt Maltepes. The Philly Rooster is having his first glass of wine. It's going to be a good show. And the legend himself, the Philly Godfather, Mr. Steve Maltepes. Philly Godfather, you ready to get started?
Ready to go, man. Super Bowl week's coming up. As usual, I'm sitting on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 50-1 to win the Super Bowl. And if you think that's crazy, there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on in the stock market, John. What's going on these days?
Not near as crazy as your 50-1 future that you put out that you have 5 dimes on right now, which is incredible. I can't wait to hear how you're hedging that bet or if you're hedging that bet. But what's going on in the market? I have not gotten more emails, texts. I've been on Fox Business Television today. I'll be on Fox Business again tomorrow with Neil Cavuto talking about GameStop mainly, but also the short squeeze that's going on. It's very simple. The wrong guys made money. So this is going to be corrected. I can assure you of that. And let me break it down real easy because I've gotten so many questions on this. When you short a stock, which is what's going on, this is a short squeeze based on market manipulation is what has happened in the stock market. When you short a stock, so you say you buy GameStop at $20 as a short, meaning you get 20,000, say you put by $20, 1,000 shares, you put $20,000 comes to you, and now you have to buy that stock back to put it back in the account. That's shorting a stock. So what you hope is that the stock goes to $10. So you take that $20,000, which you're paying interest on because it's a loan, buy that stock back at $10. You make the difference in that $10,000 and the $20,000 that you got back in a loan. The problem that happened was GameStop went the other way. So GameStop, instead of going from $20, say you have 1,000 shares, now it went to $300. So that $20,000 loan you have that you're paying interest on, you now have to pay back a $300 stock at $300,000. That is a short squeeze that happened, and it's something that's going on Wall Street forever. The difference is Wall Street used to do the short squeeze. So this is something that's happened in history. So look at, say, Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a great hedge fund guy. He shorted Herbalife. Same principle. A bunch of hedge funds allegedly got together and said, we're going to bid up this stock. We're going to make Bill Ackman cover, and we're going to make a ton of money off Bill Ackman's cover. This appears to be the same thing that's going on in this Reddit chat right now with a lot of these groups that seem to be working inclusion, which is something I'll get into in a minute, but you can't prove. This is not a systemic risk. Okay, so if GameStop goes to $5 million, or if it goes to zero, that has no effect on Apple, Microsoft, the rest of the market, the commodities market. It really doesn't make that much difference. 1987 was different. You had an investor who I know pretty well. Ronald Reagan went to him and said, if you don't cover your shorts in the 1987 dip, he said, I'm going to make your life a living hell. The next morning, he covered his shorts and the market recovered. That was a systemic risk. This is not a systemic risk that is going on right now with the Reddit chats, with AMC, with all of these different stocks that have this huge short position. A couple things are going to happen. 140% was the short position in GameStop, meaning that 140% of the float had been borrowed. The way that happens, if I borrow the stock, somebody can borrow it from me after I've borrowed it. That gets you to 140%. That rule is going to change. Here's why you're probably not going to see anything illegal from it. So if a person comes to me and says, hey, let's buy GameStop, I think it's going up. We buy GameStop. It goes up a little bit because we bought the price, and it tends to go up according to which direction there's more buyers or sellers. Then I'll look at it and think, you know what? GameStop is really good. I'm going to go on Reddit and I'm going to tell people that GameStop is going up. Then you have this momentum trade that happens. Now I look at it and say, you know what? I made 25% in 3 days. I might as well sell this stock. That's legal. However, if somebody had come to me and says, hey, let's buy the stock together, let's drive the price up, let's put out a post on Reddit, drive the stock price up further and sell it, make money off of it, that's illegal. The exact same thing is both legal and illegal. It all boils down to intent. It's almost impossible to prove intent. So what's going to happen here is already starting to happen. When a Square walks into a casino, a Mark makes a ton of money, one of two things happens. They get thrown out of the casino or the rules change. Right now, both are happening. So you have the big Wall Street Bets message board being shut down right now. You're having the people starting to look at this Roaring Kitty, this YouTuber that does so much of this chat pushing this stock. He's going to get shut down. The rules are going to change significantly because the people that have made the money off this are not the guys who make the rules, are not the house. So to me, when you look at what's going on in the market, how do you play this? I looked at AMC this morning. I was going to buy it about $4 to $5 because I thought with a cash infusion they got, separate issue, it's a good company, it could be a short squeeze. Market opens, it's at $19. I never got to make the trade. This isn't going to affect long-term anything in the market. Your longs are still going to do well. I would not short a stock at all right now because the Reddit chats, one thing they're saying is we're going to get the man. They want to go after these guys. Now, remember this, though. The guys who are hopping on the train, they're not your sharp guys. They're your momentum guys. The guys who start the train, they're the guys you never hear about. They're your sharp guys. What do I think?
John, can I interject 1 second? Because I have a question, and
Yes.
It's very informative. I appreciate this. How do they know which stocks the hedge funds shorted in a big position?
You can look it up on Yahoo Finance. So like before we came on air, I looked up the 10 shorted stocks. You can look it up. You can Google it. It's all because of F-13 disclosures from hedge funds. You can look it up and it's all easy. Now, it's not real time. A lot of it's delayed by a few weeks because they try not to report real time. Hedge funds don't like to let you know anything they're doing. But it's all open information out there on the internet. The problem you have is most of these stocks that are being shorted are shorted for a reason because they're not very good companies. So you don't necessarily want to own them. You want to people own them because of a momentum trade. Just remember, the people that are in the momentum part are not the ones who started the train. They're the sharp guys are the ones that started, see the momentum, and then sell it. Do I think it's collusion? Absolutely, I do. I think it's been collusion on Wall Street since Wall Street was around. But can you prove it? And is it illegal? Don't think there's a chance in the world that something like that's going to happen. I do think they're going to change the rules and just kick people out of the casino is what I think is going to happen. So hopefully that explained. One stock I'm looking at, by the way, is Carnival. Carnival is a pandemic stock. If we come out of this, Carnival could do really well. It also has a decent short position. I'm not going to buy a stock that I think is going to go up because of a short squeeze, but I'll buy a stock that has a potential short squeeze in it and see if it does. And if it doesn't, I'll own a stock that I don't mind holding for 6 months.
One more question, John. Sorry, because I'm really interested in this. Would it be worth it at this point to get on Reddit and just follow the steam, kind of what Squares do in sports, since we're not in a sharp position?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you see a stock that's starting to get steamed, for lack of a better term, using a betting parlance, yes. I've done the same thing today. That's why I was looking at stocks today that I thought were going to get it steamed just to see if I could get in one, just to see if it happens. What I would recommend, though, is get a stock that you feel comfortable with, that you don't mind owning if it goes the other way. So you have some that if you get a short squeeze on it, it goes up. And if it doesn't, you're okay owning it.
Yeah, well, I think the best investment, my money's in sports every day. I dump it back in. But if there's a fix going on, maybe I'll dabble a little bit.
Hey, the market's fixed. The market is rigged. There's no doubt about it. I was an investment banker. I saw it from the inside. I've seen it from the outside. The market's rigged. It's just rigged to the players that have the money, and they're going to figure out a way to keep themselves in that catbird seat, and they're going to get rid of all of this retail stuff out there one way or another if they have to change the rules because they own the casino.
That's you know, John, I'm glad you're on this show because the last time Rooster gave me stock advice, he told me to buy Blockbuster, and thank God I didn't listen to him, and they were done like a year later.
Yeah, I told you before we went on air, I got a buddy down in Texas who loves to gamble, but then they're watching gambling shows. He goes, "What does that guy who drinks wine think?" I was like, "You mean Rooster?" "Yeah, I like him. I like him." All right.
When it comes to sports, you follow the Rooster to the bank, but when it comes to stocks, I'm listening to you, John. That's all I know.
Well, we got something else crazy going on, and that is it's not UFC, it is MMA. Because I was told before the show starts, don't call it UFC. And Joey got all mad at me and started cussing and saying bad words and things like that. It's MMA in Poland. But before we go there, Joey, I want to ask you about Ben Askren and Jake Paul. Jake Paul is a favorite right now. I saw one book had him at minus 200. You got to be kidding me.
You know, have you ever seen Ben Askren stand up? It's just horrible. But I agree with you here. Look, you need your head examined to bet this fight. You know, Jake Paul was they were talking about Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. You know what was nuts about that fight? I saw 35-1. They were betting Jake Paul. Floyd was like 14-1 when like it was announced that the fight would not take place. I'm thinking to myself, wow, another Conor McGregor type thing, but worse. But no, Ben Askren, he really has no stand-up. And you don't know what you're getting with this kind, you know, the rules. Look at that Tyson fight. You had 3 judges. You knew it was going to end in a draw. We talked about it ending in a draw weeks before it took place. You had the sports books, you know, and they go through all those integrity checks and things. It was insanity. It was like 14-1, 12-1, 8-1 on the draw everywhere. And then they, you know, when I guess a pop-up message came up on Don Best and they said, look, you know, this bout is, you know, it's an exhibition. And well, we knew that. But they were just using it to get customers in the door. And this thing will have a zillion views. I mean, these YouTubers, I mean, look at the, you know, look at the last Jake Paul fight against Nate Robinson, you know, and Tyson and those guys. I mean, he's just going to, you know, he gets people online. That's all they do. They're glued to their computers. But anyway, it's a nonsense bout. It's an Olympian, you know, Ben Askren's a 2-time Olympian, NCAA champ. He's a great wrestler. Great grappler, lost his last 2 UFC fights, got smoked by Masvidal, got smoked by Damian Maia, got choked out, jiu-jitsu against wrestling. I was actually surprised there. I thought Askren was a bit of a better grappler, but I know one thing for certain. Ben's got no stand-up. All that said, forget about that Olympian. Let's go to Poland.
So in Poland, we got MMA, and we got another Olympian, and that is an Olympic gold medalist weightlifter, Simon Pilecki. I believe I'm saying that right. Taking on a
John, they got ice cubes in Poland?
Why do you ask?
Oh, no.
Because my buddy told me they forgot the recipe. I'm not sure.
I knew it was coming.
That was weak. I apologize.
Joey, help me out here.
I just speechless. What can I say?
Hey, Steve, leave the comedy to me, please.
There you go.
Yeah, buy Blockbuster. That's all I remember. That's funny as hell.
All right. Where's the wine?
Joey, Zolecki versus Zawada. It is some fight you found somewhere in a Kumante in Krakow, Poland.
Well, no, actually, this KSW promotion over in Poland, they put on some good shows. They only had 14 shows in 2020 because of the COVID. But Mariusz Putinowski, I mean, I don't know if they ever tried to get him into the pro wrestling. Monstrous super heavyweight from Poland. I mean, but they don't test. They don't test for supplements over there. And a lot of these guys are jacked on supplements. But Pilecki, two-time Olympian, got a gold medal, got a silver medal. I think 2000 he got a silver, and then 2008 he got a gold. Strong as a beast, 205 pounds. Right now he's 8-1 in MMA. Okay, couple-time world champ, weightlifting champ. He took a break around 2005. He had an injury. Now I dug real deep into this simply because it was the only, you know, there wasn't too much going this week and I had time. He's fighting Martin Zawada. You'll say, well, Jesus, Zawada just fought like 2 weeks ago. That was his brother. Okay, this is the older Zawada. This is the Zawada that didn't get to the UFC. That's 29, 15, and 1. Now he can punch a bit, but Kolecki here he's about minus 200 favorite. And you look at it and you say, wow, there's value in Zawada. He's got all that experience, and there might be. But I watched this Polish guy. He fought an Olympic wrestler, silver medalist in one of his bouts, beat him. Okay, he's been in with strikers, beat him. He's an Olympic champion. I mean, this guy, you're not going to grapple, you're not going to fight a stronger guy. And he's a grinder. And I think he's going to win here. I think he'll beat Zawada. The promotion is in Poland. I'm not going to say they got some shady cards sometimes, but sometimes you don't know what you think these things happen in a regulated market like Nevada. Imagine what goes on over there in Krakow and Lodz and everything. I expect Kolecki to win that fight. But that's not the only thing that's going on this week. There's an LFA card, and wow, I already forgot what the LFK card is in Missouri, not in Missouri, in Kansas.
Lucas Clay.
In Kansas, where our good friend is from, Kansas. It's the only thing in Kansas. And naturally, it's like a smaller barn show kind of event. Anyways, fighter here that's going on the card from AKA San Jose, California. JJ Akanovich. I know I blew it. Nope, I didn't blow it. Akanovich is fighting Lucas Clay. Clay is from St. Charles, Missouri. Okay, Clay's 6-1. Akanovich is he's 7-1. Good matchup on paper. There's a lot of highlight reels of this Clay. This Clay's he's crafty off his back. Good submissions, things like that. But you know what? JJ is over at AKA. And if you know one thing about AKA, and they said it, Dana White had said it in the past. He said, you know what? These guys, they go so hard in the gym every day that they end up getting hurt. A lot of guys get hurt. Kane always had injuries. DC really didn't fall under the injury bug. But Velazquez, a lot of those other guys got injured. They go hard in the gym is my point. I think that JJ's faced tougher guys in the gym. His stand-up isn't really crisp, but then neither is Clay's. I mean, his nickname is Cassius Clay. I don't know where they get that from because he's nothing like Muhammad Ali, but he is slick off his back. But I think JJ's too strong. I think he's going to grind out a decision here.
Then we go coming back to the UFC the following week. Alistair Overeem back. I know we can talk about it next week. We'll have a whole UFC show on it. You got any insight right now leading into Alistair Overeem coming back?
Well, you know what? They're heavyweights, Volkov and Overeem. And, Overeem, he had a lot of success in the K1 kickboxing. And there's a kickboxing event. It's in the Netherlands this week. Netherlands country they're like on the brink of civil war over there, shutting down because of the COVID. But they're still going to have this K1 event over there. And a guy that's fighting, and I haven't seen odds, and I don't know if they'll put odds up in the U.S. casinos, but this Alex Pereira, guy who beat Israel Adesanya, beat him in K1 competition, kickboxing, knocked him out. I posted the video of it a couple times on Twitter and things. This guy, he's fighting. He's looking to unify. Well, he's the middleweight champ. He's going up to light heavyweight, fighting a Russian that's had some time off, and he's looking to capture both belts, kind of like a Roy Jones Jr. going up in weight to fight. Except light heavyweight to heavyweight, middleweight to light heavyweight. Anyways, this Pereira's a guy to keep an eye on. Again, I haven't seen any numbers on it. If they open him as a dog, I think he's definitely worth the shot. But I haven't seen any numbers. And, with the Super Bowl coming up and things like that, I doubt the U.S. books will offer it. But it's just, again, something to keep an eye on. Overeem training over in the Netherlands and things reminded me of that show. And that's it, guys. To you with the football.
No, not yet. The football. We got to go to Torrey Pines first. I just watched the Tiger documentary about Tiger. So Torrey Pines, a place where he played with a broken leg. Unbelievable. Great video. But we go to Torrey Pines for our official start to the golf season with the host of Swing It and Ding It, Mr. Harry Mays, the icon from Philadelphia. He and Rocky Balboa. John Rahm is the favorite, plus 650. Rory is plus 800. Harry, what do you got for us in Torrey Pines?
Hey, John, I just got to say this. I hope some people were short squeezing me last week in Palm Springs because I was awful. That's a tournament that I've never liked. To me, I've always said that the PGA Tour calendar year begins this week in La Jolla, California at the Farmers at Torrey Pines. You got two courses they're working this week, the North and the South. They'll play the North once. They'll split it on Thursday and Friday. Each player will get a chance at the North and then one at the South, and then it concludes with Saturday, Sunday rounds for the guys that make the cut on the South. The South is a brutal test. It's going to be where the U.S. Open will be this coming June. They've got Poana greens on the South, which get real bumpy in the afternoons and are really tough, tough to get a good roll on. So that's going to be something to pay attention to. It's 7,500 plus yards. I mean, this is a beast of a golf course. The North plays at like 7,200. I played the North a few years ago. It is just beautiful, but it's much easier than the South. It plays about 2.5 strokes easier than the South. And if you're gonna really like to have bombers in your lineup if you're doing DFS this week, really long, narrow fairways, thick rough. There's 5 par 4s that are 450 to 500 yards in length. So guys that can really bomb it off the tee, and not necessarily with accuracy. You don't necessarily need to hit the fairway because the fairways are so narrow anyway that guys that are hitting it shorter are going to miss them too. So you might as well have, 160 in rather than 185 in to these greens. So bombers are at a premium this week. Jordan Spieth and Jason Day will make appearances. First time they've been around in a long time. And you said it, Rory McIlroy, he hopped in his G5 over in Abu Dhabi after finishing third. He started the final round in that tournament in the lead and ended up falling down to third, shooting par round. And he's going to be in the field at plus 225 in a top 5. He's one of my picks. He's just got so much length. He's got the most talent of anybody in the field. I know Rahm is the favorite. Now, Rahm had a back injury about a week and a half ago, too. So who knows with that? So I'm staying away from Rahm this week. I'm going to take Rory McIlroy in a plus 225 for a top 5. I'm also taking Gary Woodland in a matchup with Ryan Moore. Gary Woodland minus 125 over Ryan Moore, and Cam Davis, which is a guy that it really jumped out to me last week. Kid from Australia. I'm putting him in the top 3 Aussie at plus money at plus 125. That's one of the great things about golf. You can bet nationalities. It's awesome. I'm also going to take Victor Hovland, Cam Davis, and Taylor Gooch for top 20 plays. They come through at plus 165, plus 250, and plus 335, respectively, John.
Harry, I'm in, and I hate to get some inside information here, but I'm in a betting group. It's called Moves. That's
okay.
That's
man boobs.
That's right, man boobs.
Yeah.
Moves. And
Rooster knows what those are.
So the thing about a betting group, you got to pick one guy and you can't pick him again. So you need to save, like, say, your top 8, because you get 2 picks for majors, 2 picks for World Golf Championship. So it's your top 8 to 10. You got to save for the big money. I'm looking at Hideki Matsuyama.
Yeah, Hideki Matsuyama. Yeah.
His flat iron just flat gave out on him the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But he's playing a tournament that he knows well. He's won it before. He's pretty good on the greens there. Do you like Hideki here for me to put in my Moves sports betting group?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good play. He was tied for 3rd in this tournament back in 2019 and actually tied for 12th in 2018. He's got all kinds of length. He hits it pretty straight. Matsuyama is a good play. I mean, he's plus 250 for a top 10 too. Not a bad Moves play.
like the Moves play. Those guys are going to be like, hey, guys, this is a secret. It's not like Fight Club. You named it Moves. You deserve to be embarrassed on the internet.
Right.
One more question. Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
Mickelson won at Torrey Pines, but then he literally said a couple years later, when they redesigned it and made it longer, he can't play it anymore.
Right.
Mickelson is, I saw earlier, minus 132 to miss the cut.
Yeah.
What do you think about Mickelson's tournament? What is wrong with Phil right now? Something's wrong.
He's 50 years old. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, he's going to be splitting some time with the Tour Champions, where he cleaned up in his first 2 events. He won both of them. He's going to add a lot of sauce to that tour, and he's going to, dabble between both tours. But this golf course, I know he's got dreams and delusions of winning a U.S. Open. He's finished runner-up 6 times in the U.S. Open, and he would love nothing more, and golf fans would love nothing more than for him to find a way to get it. I don't see it happening. I mean, he's 50 years old. Father Time wins. And playing up against this competition, he doesn't drive it very straight. The putter can go on him at any moment in time. I would fade Phil Mickelson this week.
fade him in matchups? And would you even go so far as to bet him maybe not to make the cut?
I wouldn't. I would seriously consider that.
Interesting for a guy who at one time he owned this course.
Oh yeah,
he was younger and could hit the ball a little bit further, a little bit straighter.
No doubt.
Time catches up to everybody but me and you, Harry.
That's right. That's right. And Rooster.
And Rooster, that guy who drinks all day long. So let's go, the guy who drinks.
One more quick question on the stock market. Is there a way to short Harry's golf bets on the stock market? And if so, DM me as soon as the show's over.
That's just mean, Harry. That's just mean.
Hey, I deserve it.
We got him this week, Harry. We got him this week. So let's go to the biggest event coming up, and it may be the most watched event in sports history, especially when you're talking about football. The old versus the young, the GOAT versus the kid, Brady versus Mahomes. Right now, it's 3.5 points that you get if you're betting the Tampa Bay Bucks. Over under is 56.5 to 57, depending on what book you look at. Philly Godfather, you have been all over the NFL for the last couple of years at least, a lot longer than that, but I've known you for a couple of years. You made me a lot of money. What do you like about in this Super Bowl?
It's still early, John, and there's so much uncertainty going on. You got to really do your research on the umpires, try and figure out which team it'll lean to. Like last year, there was a big article about how the refs that were going to umpire the Super Bowl called the least amount of offensive holding calls in the league that year. And you saw the Super Bowl. I mean, Mahomes went back, threw the ball 40 times, dropped back 40 times, and there wasn't one offensive holding call called the whole game. So that definitely benefited, Kansas City in the Super Bowl, especially versus a pass rush like the 49ers had last year. They had one of the best pass rushing teams, over the last 5 years. So you got to do your homework on the refs. We've never had a situation where a team was actually playing at home. As great as Tom Brady is, he figured out a way to get home field advantage in the Super Bowl. So nobody knows how much that is really worth. I know there's only going to be about 22,000 fans there, about 7,500 to first responders, so about 15,000 Tampa Bay fans are going to be there. But there's going to be a lot more outside the stadium, so nobody really knows what that's worth. And then you got to look at with the whole COVID mess. I think Kansas City is flying in 2 days before the Super Bowl. So how does that affect the team that flies in just 2 days before, the game starts? And then they got a big problem on that Chiefs offensive line with Fisher out. But before I, keep going on, I want to see what Rooster likes because I know he's such a Kansas City homer. I want to see what how he.
Well, Rooster, before we go to you,
wait. He bet him every week this year, just so you guys know.
Well, I didn't forget what I was going to say.
He probably got one right last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, just so you guys know, money, I love all kinds of money. I mean, I'll take coins. I'll take gold chips. I'll take silver dollars, whatever you want to pay me with, I'll take. But my favorite kind of money in the world is Philly Godfather money. It's not easy to get a hold of it, but I got a hold of 2 nice stacks last Monday morning after that Sunday morning beatdown that the Chiefs gave.
It's not called Bitcoin, it's called Greek coin.
Yeah.
Harry, Rooster, how early were you at his house on Monday morning?
8 a.m. I was waiting at his front door. He doesn't wake up till about 9:30, 10 o'clock. I wanted to go at 6, but I waited out there in the cold. And as soon as he woke up, I was ready to collect. That I am never spending that money. That's money that's going to sit in my safe forever.
He was feeding the alpacas out at like 6:30 in the morning.
He's lying. I got up at like 5 a.m. every morning. He got here around 11. He strolled in with I don't even want to tell you what he was drinking.
So, Rooster, have you got him again next week? Have you made up your mind yet?
Well, I haven't, but there's so many interesting angles to this game. And the one that really, first of all, both coaches are fat and out of shape. So my main theory is right out the window. So I went to the defensive coordinators. Now, Spagnuolo is Tom Brady's kryptonite. It's amazing. This guy is great against Brady. And what I noticed last week.
He's only great because he had that Giants pass rush. It was like the greatest pass rush of all time. If you take that game in, they're basically 2-2 straight up. I mean, it's not how great he is against Tom Brady. I don't want to hear it.
Spagnuolo had Eli Manning beat Tom Brady. That's what
No,
happened.
he had that defense beat Tom Brady. Eli didn't do much in that game.
He didn't have to. He had Spags.
He had
But anyway.
that defensive pass rush. They were unstoppable.
So Tom Brady's against his kryptonite in a year where let's face it, he throws bad interceptions. Now, that being said, Tom Bowles is the other defensive coordinator who knows the Chiefs system inside and out, and he will have some insight here. That's for sure.
What's a good interception?
Yeah, exactly. But no, he has interceptions that there was 6 or 8 this year that should have been pick sixes that then were just dropped. Like he has flashes of horrible games. He threw 3 last week, and they weren't able to capitalize. But if they did, that's a totally different game. But I still am afraid of Tom Brady in the biggest stage. And I'm afraid.
You better be. You know why you better be scared of him? Because Mahomes last year played like shit. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He got sacked 4 times. He had a QBR of 63%. And if it wasn't for those refs not calling offensive holding, he would have played a lot worse.
Yeah, but what was that letter I saw after the game next to Mahomes? I think it was a W. What did that mean? Because that's the only thing
they had the NFL lean on the game. The refs, they put the right refs in to call the right game to ensure the Chiefs won the game for Andy Reid because everyone loves that coach.
Now we got excuses. We got the referee excuse. John, can you keep track of these for me? Because I think by the end of next Sunday, we're going to be up to about 35 excuses why Tom Brady lost his game. Enough with the excuses.
The guy's got 6 rings. He's going for his 7th. And you're talking about Mahomes like he's better than Tom Brady.
Get the W. That's all that matters.
So, Matt, what are you going with here? Are you going with the goat or the kid?
Well, it's hard to bet against Mahomes, but I think it's even harder to bet against Brady. We have a move on this game we give out on the site. It was Tampa Bay plus 3.5. I'm looking at this game. We saw Mahomes. He's dealing with the turf toe, saying whatever. And last week, we saw Eric Fisher go down. Now, 3 of their 5 offensive linemen are hurt, and that's going to be tough going against this Tampa Bay pass rush that I believe is 10th in sack percentage on the year. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kansas City's 19th. Not even close. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. What do you think, 8?
Well, I think the key to this game is going to be the Chiefs' offensive line, the 2 tackles, Mike Remmers. You have Eric Fisher out, and we saw Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett just get to Aaron Rodgers last week and disrupt a bunch of passes that he usually doesn't make. So I think that's going to be the key to this game. I'm still feeling this game out, but right now I'm leaning the Bucs.
That's a fair point because they're able to get to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been MVP this year. Pat Mahomes, what are they, 1-9 against the spread the last 10 games? It's going to be a tough game for Kansas City, but it's going to be tough for Tampa Bay. PGF talked about the refs. A lot of it depends on the refs and the way they call this game. But it's hard to bet against Tom Brady in the biggest stage. I'll tell you that, John.
Well, Harry, last week you were excellent on the football. You sided with the Rooster, which you have gone against Mr. Rooster a couple times. There's a little bit of a Boone's Farm conspiracy going on here. What do you got, Harry, for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I took a little bite out of Tampa Bay as well, and not much, but I'm going to be more active on props as we get closer to the game. But as far as the side, I got to go with Brady. I got to go with them playing at home, and the fact that everybody else has raised the point, and it's totally valid. Their defensive front really had their way with Green Bay last week, and I expect the same to happen against Kansas City. I heard Andy Reid saying that he's not optimistic that Schwartz will be able to play either. He's another offensive tackle that they've missed for a while. They were hoping to get him back for the Super Bowl. Obviously, Fisher is out. I just think that's going to be too much to overcome, and I think Bruce Arians, is a great fat guy coach. I agree with Rooster, and I think he's going to have a great plan.
Well, Philly Godfather, you mentioned sometimes you talk about money line as compared to giving up 3 points. Might as well go money line. Would you be tempted instead of if you're going to take the Tampa Bay Bucks to go money line here?
Well, you really got to bet the money line whether you like either team, because the team that wins a game has covered the spread 26 out of the last, I think, 30 Super Bowls. 24 of the last 30, and there's been 2 pushes. So in this type of situation, there's a weird phenomenon. You're either going to win the game and cover the spread if you're a favorite or a dog. So it doesn't matter. The point spread really hasn't come into effect in the Super Bowl over the last 30 Super Bowls. But I joke around a lot with Rooster. Both these teams are great. Todd Bowles knowing this Kansas City Chiefs team is a big plus for Tampa Bay. And this Chiefs team went 8-10 against the spread this season. They're only the 5th team in NFL history who has had a losing record against the spread to make it to the Super Bowl. And out of those 5 teams, only one of them ended up winning, and that was the 2012 Ravens. So a team that underperforms the market shows, vulnerabilities from week to week. And this team, to me, seems very vulnerable going into the Super Bowl. You look at the opposition that they played. They played the Browns. I mean, they played the Bills. The Bills were a good team, but they were more of a one-sided coin in offense. Great passing team, but really didn't run the ball. So they were easier to scheme against and plan against defensively. And Josh Allen, the moment was just too big for him. Now you're talking about Tom Brady. You're talking about a pass rush that sacked Aaron Rodgers 5 times last week. Okay. You're talking about the 6th best pressure rate in the NFL this season. Number 1 against the run. I think they're number 9 against the pass. And I love Tyreek Hill. I know he lit him up early in the year. 13 catches, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns. They went up early 17-0. But in the second half of that game, you saw Tampa Bay adjust a little bit, and they started coming back. But the game wasn't as close as the final score indicated. But still, they started to figure out that team and how to slow them down. This week, coming up in the Super Bowl, this Chiefs offensive line has some serious issues. And if they can't buy Mahomes, that little bit of time that he needs to get to Tyreek Hill or get to Kelsey over the middle, there's going to be a lot of problems for that Kansas City teams. I mean, you look at the trenches, Tampa Bay is better on their offensive line, even when Kansas City was healthy. And now that they're banged up, they're a lot better. You look at their defensive line, they're so much better than Tampa Bay's. At the quarterback position, as much as I love Patrick Mahomes and the fact that he could become the youngest quarterback to win back-to-back Super Bowls, I think the last guy that did it was Terry Bradshaw in 1980. Tom Brady, in a big moment, has been better. It's normal for Tom Brady to make the Super Bowl every year. I mean, he's not going to choke. And he's got so many weapons on this team offensively. You got 2 guys running the ball in Fournette and Jones. It's a great 1-2 punch. As of right now, I'm leaning Tampa Bay. Especially if the refs, as a group, if they don't call too many pass interference calls and they don't call too many defensive holding calls, that definitely benefits Tampa Bay's defense with that speed of Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and the rest of the team because they're so fast. So if you got an umpire unit that doesn't call too many pass interference calls and too many defensive holding calls, and they do call a lot of offensive holding calls, to me that's tailor-made for a Tampa Bay victory.
Jordan,
Think about this. Let me step in real quick.
Sure,
I just want to say something. Think about the teams that the Buccaneers have taken on in the playoffs. They all on the road, by the way, at Washington, the best defense maybe in football, took care of them. Then at New Orleans, the best NFC team in the NFC, one of them, took them out. Green Bay and Lambeau against Rodgers. You never beat Rodgers in Lambeau. They took them out. And now they're going to the Super Bowl in their home. I like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, think about the quarterbacks each team has played. The Chiefs played Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen, 2 young, good quarterbacks, but they're nowhere near as Breeze and as Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the level of competition has been so much higher.
I know this. Let me break up this love fest for a minute because
you bet them every week. You got lucky last week, and now you're raving about it. They went 8-10 against the spread.
I'm about to throw up on my phone. Okay. First of all, Tom Brady can probably make 20 good plays in this game. Patrick Mahomes can make 60 great plays in this game. You're worried about the offensive line. You're talking about the best quarterback in history that throws on the move and doesn't need to plant his feet.
What are you talking? In last year's Super Bowl, if they don't call that offensive pass interference on San Francisco, Garoppolo throws for more passing yards than Mahomes in the game, and I cashed that prop. Mahomes was like shit last year's Super Bowl. He choked.
I listened to all your BS. Now listen to mine. He's the greatest quarterback ever on the run. He could throw the ball 50 yards without setting his feet. We've never seen that. He does no-look passes. I am not worried about the offensive line at all. When you talk about the covers, they would have beat Cleveland by 20 if he didn't go out hurt they cover against Buffalo and made Buffalo look horrible. And all I heard last Sunday was how great Buffalo was. And now all of a sudden they weren't that good and they're not an impressive beat. They're a very impressive beat. Buffalo could have beat a decrepit old Drew Brees and we know a choker, as I explained to you last week, Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not impressed at all with what Brady did to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you know what impressed me? You know what impressed me? McDermott kicking field goals against the Kansas City Chiefs.
I would be impressed now if he beats the Chiefs, but I'm not impressed yet. He danced through a choke artist, an old man, and Washington.
I guess Roosters
give the division to everybody they could for 16 weeks. Come on.
Rooster's not impressed by the 10 Super Bowl visits and 6 Super Bowls won either. Just throw him out the window. Just throw him out the window.
I didn't say that. This is a different year. What were we talking about? Ancient history now? Are we going to talk about Peyton Manning, or what are we doing here?
Is my name
to be honest, Whitehead and Winfield.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say.
Are able to put, go ahead,
they have to play Philly Godfather in order for Tampa to really be able to hope to contain this passing attack at Kansas City. Those injuries are huge.
I'm feeling some more Philly Godfather coming my way a week from Monday.
Oh boy.
Joey, did you have something?
No, I mean, since we're talking about winning and losing, isn't this a numbers game? I watched last week, and I was waiting for one of those 2 games to land 3. They make that 2-point conversion. That Tampa game could have landed 3. Now, Rooster, your numbers, Harry, you guys are all numbers guys. How many books have you seen go broke moving off of 3, not moving with money? I'm going to sit back. If I can lay 2.5 with Kansas City, I'm with Kansas City. If I could take 3.5 or 4 with Tampa, I'm with Tampa. The number, the number's the number. And I watched a guy go broke back in 2000 moving, or 99, 2000 moving off of 3 all the time. Like it was a 5 or something. I don't know. At what point does it and last week, whistling in the graveyard, those books were moving off of that left and right. Everybody was moving off 3 in those games. And they didn't get caught speeding. I just think that, from the other side of the counter perspective, I just think that it's a bad move of these guys moving off 3, and it wouldn't surprise me if it landed 3. And that's my 2 cents.
Well, you know what the best part of this whole game is, John, is the fact that I still got 5 dimes at 50 to 1 on Tampa Bay. So I can actually put my feet up, bet the other side, and guarantee myself some free money. So if you listen to us at the beginning of the year, when I guaranteed you guys the Bills would be in the AFC Championship game, and I guaranteed you guys that Tampa Bay would be in the Super Bowl, then you're sitting pretty. That's the bottom line.
Sitting pretty, and all you got to do is hedge a little bit, and then maybe go over to Rooster's house at 8 o'clock in the morning. And
but I'm going to bet him anyway, just so we can talk smack.
Let's get on Reddit and push Kansas City.
Well, there you have it, guys. That is Follow the Action next week. UFC is back. PGA Golf will be back, but it starts officially this week. The PGA Tour in Torrey Pines. We will have a complete Super Bowl special. All kinds of prop bets. Mr. Dave Mason from BetOnline will join us, help us give us the odds. What is unique out there? How do you bet on the national anthem? How do you bet on yards carried? How do you bet on sacks? We're going to have it all for you next week. This is Follow the Action. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, on our YouTube channel, if you're listening to this on a podcast, all types of exclusive tips and info for me, for the Philly Godfather, for the Rooster and his glass of wine, for the 8-Ball, for Matt Maltepes of the College Kids, for Mr. Harry Mays and Joey Odessa. I'm John Layfield. Thanks for joining us.